who are the beneficiaries going to be, and how is that going to be reflected in the things that we see, like prices of assets and prices of goods?
I believe that as we distinguish, we can do that by countries and parts of the world, and we could do that by asset types and so on. I believe that when you look at bonds and debt, a bond is a promise to receive currency. So you have, when you're holding a bond, that gives you no interest rate or a negative interest rate, and they're producing a lot of currency, and you're going to receive that. Why would you hold that bond? Okay, and where is that bond, and who owns that bond? Okay, so this period, like the 1930 to 45 period, is a period in which I think you'd be pretty crazy to own bonds. Okay, because what is a debt? A debt in a fiat currency is a promise to receive currency, and isn't it pretty clear they're going to make a lot of currency? So I think that changes the appeal of bonds. Why in the world would you hold the bonds? And that has a big effect. So when you start to think about how much wealth is in bonds, and where is that wealth going to go, and how's that going to work, and how are they going to control it? You know, I have real thoughts about that. So what is a good storehold of wealth when we're all holding all of these debt assets, and how will that play out? That'll be an important consideration. Another, and that has to do with storehold of wealth. And so when I think of storehold of wealth, I think, what are the stable storehold of wealth in the form of stocks and other kinds of debt? I want those that have strong balance sheets, stable incomes, and so on, so that you're basically having those assets that will perform well in any kind of an environment. And I'll look at them based on how cheap or expensive they are. And when I think of the world, I divide the world into different locations. As I say, I think that this picture is very much like the 1980 to 90 period, when we're flooding it with financial assets, with money and credit, but they're not getting to a number of emerging countries. So when I look at the distribution of wealth in terms of their balance sheets, like every individual, I look at what is their income, what is their expenses, and what is their savings. And when we go through that exercise, then it changes. I don't want to be in places that don't have good ones. And then I look at civil behavior. How are people with each other? Is there going to be a fight? And will that fight, will people be orderly? Will we work it out? And then what will be the changes in tax rules? Taxation. Will corporate taxes come back in certain ways? What will the changes? Because we're not going to deal with that equally. So I'm looking at all of that to create a picture of differentiation. I see a very differentiated world. And when we talk about the economy coming back, I think you have to realize what big changes are that are behind that can't be changed. Let's say, for example, self-sufficiency. I think we're going to produce different things and we'll be self-sufficient. We operated in a world where we were globally connected, and whoever was most efficient would get it, and we would just go get it wherever it was most efficiently produced. That world won't happen again. So you're going to come to a world where you'll originate it, produce it at home, and that you'll start to think about what do you need. And I imagine that we're going to be rebuilding our basics, healthcare systems. How much savings are we going to put into rebuilding some of those basics, like basics of hospital? What's our storage for the next time we have the next epidemic? And then there'll be other things, climate change. This is the act of nature that hit us over the head, the virus. But there's other evolutionary costs that are going to come in the form of climate change and those types of things. All of those things are important to imagine in imagining the new world order, I think.